Okay, so let's get on the set, and the very first thing you're going to do when you get on the set, and I say this all the time, and probably in virtually every video I've done for Kelby Training, I talk about this, because I'm relating to human beings. I'm a people photographer, so I'm going to go out, meet my subject, talk to her, try to get her a little bit comfortable with the whole notion of being photographed. Hey, Kendra, how you doing? How's it going? All right. We have absolutely lovely subject. She's not a professional model, okay? So always remember that, you know, when you're working with folks who are not pros in front of the lens, there's a certain measure of anxiety. And, you know, there's probably an equivalent measure of anxiety behind the lens, i.e. the photographer. You know, you put two of those puddles of insecurity together and you potentially have a train wreck, okay? So the thing to do behind the camera, right from the get-go, is to instill confidence in your subject that this is going to work. You're on their side, you're going to make them look good. All those kinds of things, all right? So, we okay? All right. So just relax and let's take a look. And we're going to do our first picture. Of course, I've just talked about inspiring confidence in doing good photography. And of course, my very first thing I'm going to do here is bad photography. So forgive me, Kendra. This is probably an inappropriate choice of lens. It's a slightly wide lens. It's a 24-70. Just shy, really, for me anyway, of a classic portrait length, but a real workhorse of a lens, phenomenally sharp. It's a 24-70 f2.8, so it's fast, and it's a full frame lens. So I'm really getting the value or the exact corresponding millimeter length translating to my final frame. So let's take a look here, and we'll just take a quick pop at a straight flash picture. Kendra's face is so lovely that, you know, she's wearing blue, the blonde hair, blue eyes, etc. Even with a straight flash photograph, you know, we're doing pretty well here already. I could probably, as I always mention, I could probably take a car headlight and throw it towards Kendra and she'd look great. But we're going to do much more justice to her over the course of things. We're going to see how we can take this basic situation, a very intuitive, automated exposure, okay? I'm at a 200th of a second manual, okay, mode, 200th of a second at f5.6, which is just kind of the middle of the road kind of starting point. For a single person, this kind of lens, 5.6 is plenty of depth of field. That's basically my concern, and when I throw a dart at the wall and say, which f-stop am I going to start off with? If I had a group here, you know, a whole bunch of people, I'd forget about 5.6, I'd go right to f11 or something like that. But for a single person, 5.6 is a reasonable starting point. I'm an ISO 200, I'm an auto white balance. You can see the rendition of the skin tones, very clean, very simple, okay? All of that sort of stuff is translating. That's some of the heavy lifting that we used to have to do manually as photographers. The camera has now taken over those functions and is really giving us a good report, a good result, and we're not really inputting too much, okay? What we are left to concern ourselves with is the aesthetic implications of where we go with this. How do we apply the light to this wonderful face? Okay, so our first result, 24-70, probably not the appropriate lens. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to immediately shift up to a tried and true solution for me, which is the 70-200 zoom. It's a wonderful lens for portraits. It's a wonderful all-purpose, you know, kind of, you know, medium to fairly telephoto view. Telephoto works out really well for the human face. You get a certain amount of compression and sort of formalism, and it just renders the face, you know, in a very powerful way, very clean and distinctive. So I'm going to take a look at this 70-200. I'll probably rack out in the middle portion of that, maybe 130 millimeters or so. Still straight flash. FYI, be careful with long lenses and straight flash or a flash on the camera as a commander for remote units. Just stick this in the back of your head. Say, as you can see over here, we have potentially a remote flash set up to camera right, which is Kendra's left on that C-stand over there. Now say I wanted to use that remote and use this light as a trigger. I probably don't have too many problems doing that because I have a lot of white walls where that commander signal, that pre-flash, is going to bounce around and reach that light. But just be aware of this on a remote location where you haven't got the benefit of bounce or reflectance. You go like this, that signal is going to emanate from the shadow side of this lens. So if I'm trying to drive a signal to a light that's over here from a camera position like this, vertically oriented, there's a chance, especially with the SU800, which is closer and a smaller unit, closer to the barrel of the lens, that you might not get translation to that that remote unit. Just a small point. Every once in a while it vexes you. You're just like, oh man, how is that light not seeing the signal? Well, the lens itself, depending on the size of it, may be flagging the signal. Okay, here we go, Kendra. You poor thing, you've been out here just sitting there while I'm jawboning my way through this here. Okay, all right. That's a wonderful smile. Here we go, perfect. Okay, all right. Fantastic, okay. Now, we have candor rendered in a more formal way. We're closer to her, but obviously, look at where the problems are with straight flash. Bang, the flash creates a shadow that is sort of beam on the access point of the lens and is in your photograph. So, you know, and here's the amazing thing is how far that signal translates. Look at candor's distance, you know, from the seamless. I'll beg, borrow, and steal every inch I can, usually speaking, on location to get my subject away from the background. And I'm pretty comfortable with this distance. It's not bad. It's actually, you know, you can't expect much more than this in most situations or environments you get yourself involved in as a location photographer. This is actually pretty good. But that straight flash is killing me right now. It's just taking that shadow, throwing it against the wall. Let's see if we can fix that.